Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Every Day Apply Kaizen to Yourself, Swami Ananda, Lessons from Japan. I have no idea, I don't know if I even said it. I know Zen's right, probably. Kaizen? I have no idea what this is, but it's pretty interesting. He went to Japan, that's pretty cool. It looks like 2014, let's go ahead and get started.
How will we develop? There's one interesting thing to learn here. You know, the technique of development. Japan, when we were doing management, we learned this Japanese management. So Japan, after the Second World War, you would have read, it was devastated, completely destroyed. Millions of Japanese were killed, the infrastructure was destroyed, cities were destroyed. You know, two cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were atom bombed and vaporized. Terrible condition. It was occupied by the Americans. Within 20 years, Japan was a rising economy in the world. Within 30 years, it was one of the top economies of the world. Until today, it is one of the top economies of the world. How? 1947, when India became independent, at that time, Japan had just come out of the Second World War. 1945, Second World War was over. 1947, if you see condition of Japan, if you see condition of India, actually India was better. Condition of India was better. Within 30 years, reversed. Japan is at the top, we are somewhere.
Okay, I have a couple of theories with that. My friend, he does a little political science. My only thinking here is the fact that, and this is also my arguments for how certain countries do better or don't do better. So, a couple of things here. I'll do the very basic one. I think Japan had a lot of support from America, infrastructure-wise and everything. They helped reconstruction in Japan. So they had very much help. And that's the reason why I think Japan and the US are quite close allies. Plus, we have literally military bases over there. And I think a large fleet is also over there, and ships. That's one. Two, Japan is a very tiny country, and India is massive. I don't know where it ranks in terms of massive, like US. Let me see if I can find how big USA size versus India. Let's see if it'll come up with something. United States is about 3 times bigger than India. Okay, well, okay. Anyways, regardless, this is the whole point I'm trying to make. It's the sheer fact that the size of a country matters a lot. Japan is literally the size of practically one of the medium-sized states, probably of America. Let's see, Japan. Oops, I put Japna. 26 times bigger than Japan. Oh wow, actually Japan is a lot bigger than I thought. It might be the same size as maybe the Texas, one of the bigger states. Wow, I didn't realize how it's big, but not that big. So again, size of the country matters a lot. It makes it a lot easier for the government to kind of allocate resources. Also, it's a little bit easier to govern, a little bit easier to provide resources to when you don't have to travel so far. And also, 3, Japan is relatively homogeneous. So that's another thing that I argue with about a lot of people. It's like, oh, you know, United States it's a first world country or developed country, and why isn't it all great and everything? It's like, well, you know, I think Japanese, I think the United States, for one, has a massive land issue. It has so much land. It's, I think, the top 3 of the largest land masses of countries. So it is very difficult to govern massive amount of land masses. It's very difficult to provide services to people who live in the middle of nowhere. And but then again, you can't excuse the GDP of the United States, which it's retarded. But anyways, it's still homogenization, land mass are 2 key factors that I can think of that matters a lot. So Japan, relatively homogeneous, landmass relatively small, and then you add the fact that I think the US helped Japan kind of built back up. I'm not sure on that part, but we can I pretty know for sure for the homogeneous and the small countries. A lot of people reference the what says that, the dang it, I can't remember, the European countries that are very small, like I think Sweden and Norway, Norwegian countries, I believe, they're pretty homogenous. They're pretty small countries, and they'll look at those as like the ideal countries. Again, they're homogenous, meaning there's only one, literally one race there, practically, and the country's small. Yeah, makes it, small countries are easy to govern, easy to provide resources for, easy to get to people. So, and that's why I can't exactly blame large countries for being having difficulties doing certain things. It's just, it is a nightmare. Sorry, I talk too much.
How? So one of the things which I learned from them, it's a well-known system, but we can apply to our own lives. What is the system? It is called quality circle and incremental improvement. You write down this word only, Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N, Kaizen. Now I'm not going to teach you about quality management. I'm going to teach you about how to apply Kaizen in your own life. Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N, Kaizen. What does it mean? Incremental improvement, small improvement. What they do is, in Japan, schools, offices, and of course industries, once in a week or once in 2 weeks, they will sit together in one department, suppose. They will sit in a circle. It's called a quality circle. What will they do? Just day before yesterday, somebody was talking about it. Quality circle. What do? They take up an issue. Suppose we are in this university and in the office maybe. So we are working in the office or teacher's common room. What should we do? Everybody has to give one small suggestion. It should not involve spending large amount of money. It should not make a big difference, a big change, small change only. But you have to suggest something. So somebody may suggest, our desks are dirty, so why not all of us, when we come for our work, we will have a piece of cloth, just 2 seconds we will clean the desk. It's very tiny suggestion. Another one may suggest, little flower plant we should maintain in the building, flower pots, and such person will have duty of looking after it. Like this, everybody will give one suggestion and it has to be implemented. And these are small suggestions, very cheap, easy to implement. Imagine after 1 week, so many changes will be there. After 1 month, so many changes will be there in that office or in that college. After 1 year, how that college will look, how that university will look. Imagine, little changes every week. Everybody is making changes. Little improvement, just a little improvement. Not a big improvement, not an expensive improvement, just a little improvement. This incremental change, slowly over the years, it makes a vast difference in quality. Vast difference in quality. That is visible. Those who have visited Japan, I have not, but all are impressed. Recently, our Prime Minister, I think, also visited Japan. So, Swami Vivekananda, when he went to Chicago, before that he stopped in Japan. And he was so impressed, he wrote in a letter, I wish our young men and women, our young people, they should visit Japan and see. And we can translate this, we can transfer this learning to our own country. So, Kaizen. Now, how to implement Kaizen in our own lives?
Okay. I was kind of wondering, it's like, small implementations once a week. So there's about, was it 52 weeks in a year, I believe? So 52 small incremental changes. Man, you're gonna run out of ideas, I think. It's like, plant, no, we got plant. Dog, no, we got cat, no. No, pig, I'm just wondering, like, it'd be pretty interesting though, I'm making a little bit of a joke there, but I do wonder if you continue to implement that, like how many small changes can you really do? And considering it's 52, so 52 changes a week, but that's only from one person. If you have 10 people, that's 520 changes a year. That is a lot. Then you think about 2 years, that's 1,040. I mean, I don't know if there's... I'm trying to think of little things like wash the windows. It's a nice thing, honestly. Sweep the floors. Clean the monitors. There's things to do, but... And then if you hire more employees, good lord, I wonder if they still do that today, actually. I wonder. And I'll get back to my 3 arguments a little bit later on.
I saw something some 16, 17 years ago in Deoghar, in that school where I was teaching. One gentleman, a management consultant, came and he showed us how to apply Kaizen in our daily lives. What he showed us, I have never forgotten, and I will show it to you today. You will also never forget in your lives. But only one thing, you have to do what I tell you to do. Are you ready? You are asleep. You are ready. Then you have to do one thing. You have to sit straight. Sit straight. Just do what I tell you to do. Sit straight. Now, raise both your hands. Raise your hands even higher. Little more. Okay, put your hands down. That's all. What happened?
What?
Something very interesting happened. When I asked you to raise your hands, you all raised your hands. When I asked you to raise a little more, all of you raised a little more, which means the first time you did not raise it to the maximum possible extent. And this is a great thing about human psychology.
I had an idea. You didn't say raise it to my maximum. You just said raise my hands. So I raised my hands, thank you very much. Then you said raise it a little more. So I raised it just a little more, even though I could still extend it past that. There's a difference there. If you would have told me to raise it to my maximum, I would have done that. But you said just raise your hands. So key difference there. I nitpicked that, okay? But hey, look, like I said, that's why I'm quite keen on definitions a little bit. That seems like a-hole-ish thing to do, but it does have some meaning though. I'm not doing it just to be an a-hole. I'm doing it because when you give proper definitions and proper wordage, it's hard to misunderstand something. But I'm not saying that I always give proper wordage, but I try to. And that's why if you have any questions about anything I say, don't be afraid to ask and I'll try to clarify. Because words come out mouth and sometimes words don't make sense.
Whatever we do not do it to the full extent we can do. We do not do it to the fullest possible extent. Maybe little children, primary school children, they are very enthusiastic. If you tell them to raise their hands, they will raise fully. But as we grow a little older, we always do a little less. Whatever our capacity, we do 70%, 60% of that. More is remaining capacity. And this is not a bad thing. This is a sign of hope.
Work smarter, not harder.
It means, that consultant told us, it means every day I can actually do my studies a little better. What I am doing now, right now I can do a little better because I am not doing up to my maximum extent. My feelings for others, it can be a little better because what I am doing right now is not the maximum capacity that I have got. My work, your studies, your work in the house and in the university, whatever you are doing, definitely it can be a little better because you are not doing the maximum that you can do now. So, every day improve how much? Kaizen, a little bit. You have that capacity and you cannot keep on stretching indefinitely. There is a limit, but there is no limit to our abilities to think creatively. There is no limit to our abilities of feeling, and there is no limit to the perfection we can get in work. So the development of the head, the heart and the hand, every day apply Kaizen to yourself. When you get up in the morning, you make a vow, today my thinking, my studying will be a little better. How it will be a little better? You think you know which place you are lacking, particularly you know. So what I can do a little better? Second thing is my feelings for others, sympathy for others will be a little better than what it was yesterday. And little better only. And my work, the work that I do will be a little better than what I did yesterday. Not only one day, daily if you do this, you will feel the difference in 6 days. By next week, you will feel the difference. You will be happier, your productivity will be more. People will notice what has happened to this person. Oh, he went to Ramakrishna Mission for attending a value education workshop. So, apply Kaizen to your lives. Let us apply this incremental improvement, small improvement. One senior Swami told us, very interesting, what difference should you make in your life? Don't make a big difference. It's very difficult to sustain a big difference in life. It's easier to sustain a small difference. He told us in Hindi, न्यूनतम से शुरू करो, सरलतम का अभ्यास करो. Start with the smallest, practice the easiest. What should I do? Start with the smallest, practice the easiest.
That makes sense. I've heard some people say, when doing homework, I remember this a long time ago back in high school, that people would say to do the easy questions first. When you have homework, do the easy questions first. Leave the hard ones for later. And and the reason why is because you'll end up doing about 70% of your homework and then you're tired, as opposed to doing just 30% of your homework and then you're tired. So generally speaking, do the easiest one first. It kind of gives you momentum too, potentially. It's like, oh man, this is going fantastic. I'm almost done. And then when you're tired and you're like, oh man, I just got last 30%. I'm almost home free. I'm almost home. Almost to the finish line. And hopefully that gives you an encouragement to finish whatever you're doing.
Whether it is studies or feelings or work, whatever I am doing now, the next improvement, make the smallest step. Take the smallest step. Take the easiest step. If you start with the smallest and practice the easiest, your mind will never tell you that you cannot do it. If you start do something very big, your mind itself will sabotage you. It will say that you cannot do this. I cannot do this. What small step, your mind has to agree. Yes, I can do it. So start with the smallest, practice the easiest.
Okay, so again, let me get back to the original. Why when he was talking about how India was better off than Japan after World War II, I think the U.S. did help the Japanese economy. I'm not much of a history major, and even during my time of watching history, which is still somewhat recent, I mostly watch a lot of World War II, a little bit of World War One, but I never heard about reconstructions and stuff. So, but I do believe that. I mean, the U.S. is still there today, and I don't know if the U.S. helped them or not, but I think they did, and that's one reason. Second reason, the size of the country. It's much easier to rebuild a tiny house than a mansion. A tiny house is much easier to rebuild back up and put back together and maintain than a mansion. So that's another reason why I say smaller countries are much easier to develop than larger countries. And three is the homogenization, the homogeny of the country. If everyone has the same culture, looks the same, acts the same, they all tend to get along. It's much easier to get along, let me put it that way, and they tend to get along. So most homogeneous countries tend to be quite good. But if you look at let's say India or China, I think, is China the biggest country? China or Russia is. I can't remember which one. But let's look at China, for example. I do remember a little bit about the history. China was constantly in civil war. Even though China wasn't China at that time. It was literally different countries warring against different countries. And this is what you see, different cultures warring against different cultures. And I guess it wasn't until somewhat recent that they united under China, but I'm not sure what's going on with the economy. It's booming pretty much, but I've not had much research into China. I know there's two different major languages, Cantonese and Mandarin. Can't remember which one's in the north and which one's southern, and I don't know if there's still any issues going on with China. China, as Trump would say. And then let's look at India. And this is a little bit that I know about India, is that even though I don't know when India became India as a whole, like where people recognize India, even though Sadhguru says that people don't even understand that they're part of India, which is kind of crazy to think about, but it makes sense, I guess. If you live so far out in the mountains or out of the city, you probably wouldn't know that you're part of a bigger country, which is it's kind of crazy. And I want to get back into that. There's a Japanese soldier that continued to fight World War II for like 7 years after it ended. That's another crazy thing. But anyways, but also I did remember seeing somewhere that there's a different culture in northern and southern India, so there could be a little bit of a difference there as well. I don't know if it's enough of a difference where it could be seen as two separate things or not. Then we go to the United States, where the original people, well, there's no one in the United States. Then the Native American Indians came here, and then the white people from Britain came here, and Spain and France. I don't know about Italy, but anyways, they sold all their lands to the other white people, Britain. But you look at the United States today, it's not all peaceful and all great at everything. Well, you look at what's the population split. You know, you have majority white, but what's white? That's British, German, French, Italian, I don't know, Portuguese, Sweden, maybe, New Zealand, Netherlands. Anyways, you see there's a whole bunch, they clump all these Western European people into just white. And then you also look now of course, of African descents that have come here. Then on top of all of that, you have also still Western and Eastern European coming to the United States, African people coming to the United States, Asian people come to the United States, Middle Eastern people coming to the United States, and I believe there's about 1 million people constantly immigrating into the United States every year. So there's a massive amount of cultural variation in the United States, and people from the Middle East that can, middle from Asia that can, people from Europe that can. I mean, again, the United States is a melting pot, and it sounds like it's melting. It's getting a little too hot and it's melting. But anyways, again, big country, very difficult to maintain, very difficult to govern. Again, it's like owning a house or an apartment. Imagine you have your small apartment or small house, and all of a sudden, imagine going to like a hotel with like 500 rooms and trying to maintain all the rooms. You can only do about 50 rooms in one day, and then the next day you have to do all 500 rooms again, but you have to do the next 50 rooms, and the last 50 rooms that you cleaned are all messy again. So it's, again, the bigger the country, the more difficult it is to govern. So much land to cover, so much of everything. Plus also, the bigger the land, generally speaking, the more cultural difference there are from people within even the country. India, again, I think is a good example of that. India is quite a big country, probably even Russia, actually. Because you have Western Russian, you have Eastern Russian. Eastern Russian, maybe Asians, and then Western Russian to be more East Europeans, maybe. But then you have Northern India and then Southern India. China. I don't know much about China too much. What else? And maybe even Eastern and Western Europeans. But yeah, again, just the bigger the country, the more diversity it generally has, even within its own country itself, just because of how massive the land is. The smaller the land is, the less diversity it'll have, because all the people generally live a lot closer together. So it's a lot easier to maintain, a lot easier for culture, because they all have relatively the same culture. So I can't blame big countries for these things. And these are my two argument points to say, when people starts, especially people on the left, I guess, or just people in general who argue, it's like, oh, the United States is a terrible country. Look at all these other countries, they're so fantastic. I'm like, okay, give me an example. Oh, like Sweden and Norway and Japan and Malaysia. It's like, well, are they homogenous? Yeah. Well, America's not homogenous. Are they a large country? No. It's like, well, America's a huge country. And this are the things they don't think about. They just look at the positives and not maybe the reason why there's some potential negatives there. Again, they're not necessarily wrong. It's just that they don't think about it. It's like, oh, you know, it still doesn't matter. It should be good and wondrous no matter how big the country is. It doesn't work that way. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Maybe I'm being an a-hole. I don't know, let me know. Anyway, that's my reaction to this. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.